The rain hammered against Victoria's apartment windows, matching the frantic rhythm of her heart. She stared at her phone screen, the wineglass forgotten in her trembling hand. The message had been sent to Jonathan Pierce. Her CEO, cold sweat broke across her skin as the two blue check marks appeared. Read, Victoria's apartment spun. 5 years of building her reputation at Pierce Architecture Group. 5 years of proving she belonged in Manhattan's elite circles. And now this. An intimate video meant for her ex, Daniel, had gone to the one man who controlled her future. She grabbed her phone, fingers shaking as she tried to delete the message. Too late. The video was already burned into his screen. Her in a silk robe, hair loose, eyes soft with loneliness and wine. Nothing explicit, but intimate enough to end everything. The weekend crawled by like a funeral march. Victoria barely moved from her couch. She checked her phone obsessively. Jonathan never responded. The silence felt like a blade slowly pressing against her throat. By Monday morning, she'd rehearsed her resignation speech 100 times. She dressed in armor, charcoal suit, hair pulled back so tight it hurt. No makeup except what made her look professional and untouchable. Everything the woman in that video wasn't. The subway ride to Midtown was suffocating. Bodies pressed against her, but she felt utterly alone. Pierce Architecture Group's glass tower rose into the gray Manhattan, sky like a judge's gavel. Victoria walked through the lobby on autopilot. The elevator. The 42nd floor, her desk. She just sat down when her phone buzzed. Mr. Pierce would like to see you in his office. 9:30. Her blood turned to ice at 9:28. Victoria stood outside Jonathan's corner office, the door looming like the entrance to her execution. She knocked twice. Come in, she entered. Jonathan stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, his back to her, hands in his pockets. At 43, he was all sharp edges and controlled power. Navy suit, silver at his temples. The kind of man who made architects weep with a single word. Close the door, he said without turning. Victoria obeyed. The click of the latch sounded final. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Manhattan sprawled below, indifferent to her panic. Finally, Jonathan turned. His steel-gray eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. About the message. Right. His voice was measured, dangerous. I assume it was sent by mistake. Yes. The words scraped out of her throat. I'm so sorry. I'd been drinking. I confused the contacts. It was meant for someone else. I understand if you want me to resign. Jonathan studied her for a long moment. Then he said something that shattered her world. I don't want you to resign, Victoria. She blinked, confused, terrified. He took a step closer. The air between them crackled. I need to tell you something, and I need you to let me finish before you respond. Victoria nodded, unable to breathe. I haven't been able to think about anything else since Friday night. His voice dropped lower, rougher, and not for the reasons you think. That video showed me a side of you I've never seen. Vulnerable. Real. And it made me realize something I've been denying for a very long time. He paused. Ran a hand through his perfect hair, disrupting it for the first time she'd ever witnessed. I've wanted you since the day you walked into your first project meeting 3 years ago. I told myself it was inappropriate, that I was your superior. That crossing that line would destroy both our careers. His eyes burned into hers. But that video broke something in me, Victoria. I can't pretend anymore. The office tilted. Victoria gripped the back of the chair beside her. Jonathan, I can't. We can't. I know what this is. He moved closer still, close enough that she could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from him. Dangerous, reckless, everything we've both spent our lives avoiding. Then why are you saying this? Her voice cracked. Because I'm tired of living a half-life. Because that video showed me you're tired of it too. He reached out, his fingers hovering near her face, but not quite touching. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you feel nothing, and I'll never mention this again. We'll pretend this conversation never happened. Victoria's heart slammed against her ribs. She should say no. She should walk out right now. She should protect everything she'd built. Instead, She whispered, "You're not wrong." Jonathan's eyes darkened. "Then we have a problem." "What kind of problem?" He pulled back slightly, his jaw tightening. "The board is announcing something Friday, something that changes everything. And if we do this, if we cross this line, it will destroy one of us when the truth comes out." "What truth?" Victoria's voice rose. "What are you talking about?" Jonathan turned back to the window. "I can't tell you yet, but you need to understand, if we start this, there's no going back. And when Friday comes, you'll hate me for not warning you properly." Fear and anger surged through her. "That's not fair. You can't say something like that and then refuse to explain." "I know." He looked at her over his shoulder, and for the first time, she saw something raw and broken in his expression. "But I'm asking you to trust me anyway. Just until Friday." Victoria stared at him, at this man who held her career in his hands, this man who'd just confessed something that could ruin them both. "Why should I trust you?" Jonathan's smile was sad and sharp. "You shouldn't, but you will anyway, because you're just as tired of being alone as I am." The words hit like a punch, because they were true. "Go home early today," Jonathan said, his CEO voice returning. "Think about what you want. If you decide this is too risky, I'll understand. But if you want to see where this goes, meet me Thursday night. I'll text you the address." Victoria's mouth went dry. "And if I don't show up, then we never speak of this again. And I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what might have been." She should refuse. She should run. Instead, she heard herself say, "Thursday." Something flickered in Jonathan's eyes. Relief. Hunger. Fear. "Thursday," he confirmed. Victoria turned to leave, her legs shaking. She'd almost reached the door when Jonathan spoke again. "Victoria." She looked back. "Whatever happens on Friday, whatever you learn, I need you to remember this moment. Remember that what I feel for you is real." A chill ran down her spine. "You're scaring me." "Good," he said quietly. "You should be scared. We both should." Victoria left his office, her world tilting on its axis. She'd walked in expecting to be fired. She was leaving with a dangerous secret and a meeting she shouldn't keep. But she knew, with absolute certainty, that come Thursday night, she would show up. Some mistakes, she realized. You make knowing full well they'll destroy you, and you make them anyway. Thursday night arrived, wrapped in fog. Victoria stood outside a brownstone in the West Village, Jonathan's text glowing on her screen. Second floor. Doors unlocked. She'd changed outfits 4 times. Settled on black jeans and a silk blouse. Armor disguised as casual. Her finger hovered over the doorbell before she pushed it open and climbed. The narrow stairs. The apartment was nothing like she expected. Books everywhere. Warm lighting. A half-finished architectural model on the dining table. This was Jonathan's personal space, stripped of the corporate polish she knew. "You came." His voice emerged from the kitchen. He appeared holding 2 wine glasses, wearing jeans and a gray sweater. Vulnerable. Human. I almost didn't. Victoria stayed by the door, one hand on the frame. Escape route mapped. But you did. Jonathan set the glasses down. That's what matters, is it? She crossed her arms. Because you still haven't told me what happens Friday. What secret is worth all this cryptic warning? Jonathan's jaw tightened. Sit down, please. Victoria remained standing. Talk first. He nodded slowly. Respected the boundary. The board is announcing a restructuring. I'm stepping down as CEO. The words hit like a slap.
What? Why?
My ex-wife. Jonathan's laugh was bitter. Turns out she's been embezzling from the company for 2 years. Using my credentials, my access codes. The board discovered it last month. I'm not being charged, but my reputation is destroyed. They're letting me resign quietly to avoid scandal. Victoria's mind raced. That's why you said this would destroy one of us. Exactly. If anyone finds out we're involved, they'll assume you knew. They'll think you're connected to the embezzlement somehow. Your career will be collateral damage. He stepped closer. That's why I needed you to know before we crossed any line. You deserve the choice. And what about you? Victoria's voice shook. What happens to you? I'll survive. I always do. But his eyes told a different story. The question is, whether you're willing to risk everything for something that might not last past Friday. Victoria stared at him. This broken, powerful man who just handed her the weapon to destroy him. Or save herself. Your ex-wife. She moved into the room, finally. You loved her? Once, a lifetime ago. Jonathan's hands clenched. We met in college. She was brilliant, ambitious. But somewhere along the way, she started resenting my success. Started seeing me as the enemy instead of her partner. When did you find out? About the embezzlement? 3 weeks ago. The same week you sent me that video, his smile was broken. Perfect timing, really. My world was already ending. And then you appeared on my screen, vulnerable and real, and I realized I'd spent 20 years with someone who never looked at me the way you did in those 2 minutes. Victoria's breath caught. Jonathan, that video wasn't for you. You can't build something real on a mistake. Can't I? He moved closer, slowly, giving her time to retreat. She didn't. You sent it to the wrong person. But maybe it was meant for me all along. Maybe the universe was tired of watching us pretend. The universe doesn't work that way. Then how does it work, Victoria? He stopped inches from her. Tell me why you're here. Tell me why you didn't delete my text and never look back. She should lie. She should protect herself. Instead, she whispered, because I'm tired of being alone. Because I've spent 3 years watching you from across conference rooms, telling myself you were just my boss. Because that night I sent the video, I was thinking about you, even though I typed Daniel's name. Jonathan's eyes darkened. Say that again. I was thinking about you. The confession burned. I've been thinking about you for longer than I want to admit. He reached up, fingers grazing her cheek. This is the point where we make a choice. We can stop right now, walk away, keep our professional distance. Or we stop pretending. His thumb traced her jaw. But if we do this, you need to understand something. When the announcement happens Friday, when my name gets dragged through the media, anyone connected to me becomes a target. Dating your ex-CEO will make you look guilty by association. Victoria's heart hammered. Then we keep it secret. Secrets have a way of destroying people, Victoria. I learned that the hard way, so what are you saying? She pulled back slightly. This ends before it starts. I'm saying I want you more than I've wanted anything in years. But I need you to choose this with full knowledge of what it costs. His voice dropped. I won't be the reason you lose everything you've built. Victoria looked at him, really looked. Past the CEO title, past the power. She saw a man who'd been betrayed by someone he trusted. A man offering her honesty, even when it cost him. She made her choice. Kiss me. Jonathan's control cracked, pulled her against him, his mouth finding hers with desperate precision. The kiss was nothing gentle. It was 3 years of denial. Weeks of tension, 2 lonely people finally admitting they were tired of being strong. Victoria's hands fisted in his sweater. His fingers tangled in her hair. The world narrowed to this moment, this connection, this dangerous thing they were building on the ruins of their carefully controlled lives. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jonathan pressed his forehead against hers. No going back now, he murmured. I know. Friday's going to be hell. I know that too. He smiled against her lips. Then we'd better make tonight worth it. They stayed in that apartment until dawn, talking and touching, building something fragile and real. Victoria learned that Jonathan had wanted to be an artist before architecture. His ex-wife had spent their last anniversary with her lawyer, planning the embezzlement. That he'd been sleeping in his office for weeks because home felt like a crime scene. She told him about growing up in Queens, about her father who died before seeing her graduate, about the loneliness that came with success, about all the nights she'd gone home to an empty apartment and wondered if ambition was worth the cost. As sunrise painted the windows gold, Jonathan pulled her close. Whatever happens tomorrow, I don't regret this. Victoria kissed his shoulder. Neither do I. But she should have asked more questions. She should have demanded to know everything. Because Friday brought more than just an announcement. Friday brought the betrayal. Victoria walked into the office at 9, her body still humming from Jonathan's touch. She'd barely sat down when her computer pinged. Company-wide email. Emergency meeting. Conference room at 9:30. Attendance mandatory. Her stomach clenched. This was it. The announcement. The conference room filled quickly. Victoria spotted Jonathan across the room, his face a professional mask. Their eyes met for half a second. A promise. A warning. The board chairman stood. Thank you all for coming. We have difficult news. Jonathan Pierce is stepping down as CEO, effective immediately. We've discovered financial irregularities that require investigation. The board wants to assure you that the company remains stable and your jobs are secure. Murmurs rippled through the room. Victoria's hands went cold. The chairman continued. Additionally, we're conducting internal reviews to ensure no other employees were involved in the irregularities. We ask for your full cooperation. Then came the words that destroyed everything. As part of this process, we're reviewing all of Mr. Pierce's professional relationships, including any that may have been inappropriate in nature. Victoria's blood froze. Someone knew. Someone had seen them. The chairman's eyes scanned the room and landed on her. Ms. Hayes, please see HR after this meeting. The room spun. 50 pairs of eyes turned to stare at her. Accusation, suspicion. Jonathan's face remained blank. But she saw the muscle tick in his jaw. The meeting dissolved into chaos. Victoria stood on shaking legs. Colleagues whispered as she passed. She felt their judgment like knives. In the hallway, a hand grabbed her arm. Jonathan, his eyes desperate. Victoria, I didn't know they were going to do this. You have to believe me. She jerked away. Don't. Not here. Listen to me. His voice dropped. Someone saw us. Someone told the board. They think you're connected to the embezzlement. Are you serious? Her voice rose. Said we had until Friday. You said we had time. Thought we did. But someone must have followed one of us Thursday night. Someone who wants to use this against me. His hand reached for her again. We can fight this. Together. Victoria stepped back. Together. Jonathan, I'm about to lose my job because of you. Because I was stupid enough to trust you. That's not fair. Isn't it? Tears burned her eyes. You knew this was coming. You knew they'd look at everyone close to you. You pulled me in anyway, because I thought we had more time. His voice cracked. Because I was selfish enough to want one night with you before everything fell apart. Well, congratulations. I got your night, and I got my career destroyed. Victoria, please? No. She backed away. You made your choice. You chose to drag me into your mess. Now I have to figure out how to survive it. She turned and walked away, ignoring his voice calling her name. In the HR office, they asked questions. Had she known about the embezzlement? Had Mr. Pierce ever discussed financial irregularities with her? Had their relationship been inappropriate? Victoria answered each question with mechanical precision. No, no, no. But the damage was done by noon. She was suspended pending investigation. By evening, her name was in the financial blogs. Architect suspended in Pierce embezzlement scandal. By midnight, she was sitting in her apartment, staring at her phone. Jonathan had called 16 times, texted 30-4. She deleted every message without reading them. She'd trusted him. She'd believed him when he said they could make it work, and he'd destroyed her anyway. The cruelest part, she still wanted him. Even now, even after everything, her body remembered his touch. Her heart remembered his broken honesty. But trust, once shattered, this doesn't heal. And Victoria Hayes has kind of just learned the most expensive lesson of her life. Some mistakes don't just destroy you. They burn everything you love to ash first. 2 weeks passed like years. Victoria's apartment became her prison. The financial blogs had moved on to fresh scandals, but the damage remained. Former colleagues stopped returning her calls. Job applications vanished into the void. Her savings account bled slowly with each passing day. She'd stopped checking Jonathan's messages after the 100th one, stopped answering his calls, built a wall between them, made of anger and self-preservation, until the envelope arrived. Victoria stared at the thick manila package on her doorstep. No return address. just her name and handwriting she didn't recognize. Inside, a flash drive and a handwritten note. Victoria, I know you hate me, you should, but you need to see what's on this drive. It's the only way to clear your name. Sorry for everything. She almost threw it away. Almost instead, she plugged the drive into her laptop. The first file made her breath stop. Bank records, financial transfers, email chains, all documenting Jonathan's ex-wife's embezzlement. But that wasn't what made Victoria's hands shake. The second file showed something else. Evidence that Jonathan had discovered the embezzlement 6 months ago, not 3 weeks. Evidence that he'd been building a case, gathering proof, working with federal investigators. Evidence that he'd lied to her about the timeline. The third file destroyed her completely. It was a legal document. A settlement agreement between Jonathan and the board. He'd agreed to take full public blame for the embezzlement to protect the company's reputation. In exchange, the board would clear all other employees, including Victoria, of any wrongdoing. But he hadn't signed it yet. The deadline was tomorrow at noon. Victoria's phone rang. Unknown number? She answered anyway. Ms. Hayes, a woman's crisp voice. This is Jennifer Walsh, attorney for Pierce Architecture Group's board. I'm calling with good news. The board has decided to reinstate you, effective immediately. All charges have been dropped. We'll be issuing a public statement clearing your name. Victoria's throat closed. Why? What changed? A pause. Mr. Pierce provided evidence proving your complete innocence. Additionally, he's taking full responsibility for failing to prevent the financial irregularities. The matter is resolved. Full responsibility? Victoria's voice cracked. What does that mean? Asterisk. I'm not at liberty to discuss Mr. Pierce's situation, but you're free to return to work Monday. Your reputation will be restored. I strongly suggest you accept this outcome and move forward. The line went dead. Victoria sat frozen, the pieces clicking together. Jonathan was sacrificing himself, taking blame for his ex-wife's crimes to save the company, and in doing so, saving Victoria's career. But it would destroy him. Public humiliation, professional ruin, possible criminal charges, all to protect her. She grabbed her phone, finally opening his messages. They started desperate, then resigned, finally accepting. The last one, sent an hour ago. I know you won't forgive me for lying about the timeline. I was trying to protect you from becoming a witness in the federal case. I thought I could fix everything before you got hurt. I was wrong. But I can still fix this part. Your career, your reputation, they matter more than mine. I'm signing the settlement tomorrow. Please don't try to stop me. You deserve the life you built. I'm just sorry I couldn't be part of it. Be happy, Victoria. That's all I ever wanted. She was out the door before the next breath. Terror and fury driving her into the night. Jonathan's West Village apartment was dark except for one lamp. Victoria pounded on the door until he opened it, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Stubble shadowed his jaw. His eyes were hollow. Victoria, he said her name like a prayer. You shouldn't be here. Shut up. She pushed past him into the apartment. You lied to me, I know. You knew about the embezzlement for 6 months? You've been working with the feds? You built an entire case and pretended it just happened. To protect you. His voice was raw. The federal investigators wanted to question everyone close to me. If you'd known the truth, you'd have been subpoenaed. Your career would have been over regardless. So you lied. So I kept you out of it. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. And then I was stupid enough to think we could have something real before everything collapsed. That was my mistake. Not the lie. The hope. Victoria's anger cracked. You're taking the fall. For everything, why? Because my ex-wife has my name on half those transactions. Because fighting this publicly means destroying the company and everyone who works there, including you. Because I'm tired, Victoria. I'm tired of fighting battles I can't win. That's not good enough. She moved closer. You don't get to sacrifice yourself and call it noble. You don't get to save my career by destroying yours. Watch me. His smile was broken. I sign tomorrow. It's done, then I'll tell them the truth. I'll testify that you're innocent. They'll destroy you anyway. Jonathan's voice turned hard. You think the board cares about truth? They care about containing the scandal. If you fight this, you become a liability. They'll make sure you never work in architecture again. I don't care. Yes, you do. He stepped close enough to touch her, but kept his hands at his sides. You've worked too hard. Sacrificed too much. I won't let you throw it away from me. That's not your choice. Out. It's the only choice I have left. His eyes burned into hers. Let me do this, Victoria. Let me save the one thing that matters. I'm not a thing you can save. Tears streaked her face. I'm a person. A person who gets to decide what's worth fighting for. And you're worth fighting for, Jonathan. Even if you're too broken to see it. He flinched like she'd struck him. Don't. Please don't make this harder. Why not? She grabbed his shirt, forcing him to look at her. You made it impossible the moment you told me the truth about how you felt. The moment you gave me one night of being seen, of not being alone. You don't get to take that back by playing martyr. I'm not playing anything. His hands finally moved, gripping her wrists gently. I'm trying to fix what I broke. You broke us by lying. You'll destroy us by dying on this sword. Victoria's voice shook. There has to be another way. There isn't, then we find one. Together, Jonathan stared at her like she'd offered him oxygen underwater. Why? Why would you risk everything for me after what I did? Because I'm just as stupid as you are. She pulled him closer. Because despite the lies and the mess and the impossibility of it all, I still feel it. This thing between us. And I'm not ready to let it die without a fight. Victoria. Her name was a broken sound. Won't sign tomorrow. Give me 48 hours. Let me try. Try what? I don't know yet. But I'm a damn good architect. I solve impossible problems for a living. She pressed her forehead against his. Let me solve this one. If you fail, we both lose everything.
Ow.
Then we lose together. She kissed him, fierce and desperate. I'm tired of being alone too, Jonathan. I'm tired of safe choices and careful distances. You made me want something dangerous. Now deal with the consequences. He kissed her back like she was air, and he was drowning. When they broke apart, his eyes held something she hadn't seen before. Hope. Double quotes 40-8 hours, he whispered. But if you can't find a way out, I sign. And you let me go. Deal. They spent that night building a plan. Victoria pored over the documents on the flash drive, her architect's mind dissecting the problem from every angle. Jonathan told her everything. No more lies. The federal case, his ex-wife's flight to a non-extradition country, the board's fear of publicity. By dawn, Victoria had the skeleton of a solution. Risky. Nearly impossible. But possible. This might actually work, Jonathan said, reading her notes. His hand found hers. You're brilliant. You know that? I'm desperate. There's a difference. She squeezed his fingers. But if we pull this off, you owe me something. Anything. Honesty. Always, no matter how ugly the truth is. Her eyes locked with his. If we're doing this, if we're building something real, I need to know you'll never lie to protect me again. I'm not fragile. I'm not something you have to save. I'm your partner. Treat me like one. Jonathan pulled her into his lap, his voice fierce. I promise. No more lies? No more protecting you from the truth. We face everything together. Good. Victoria kissed him softly. Because what we're about to do is probably going to make a lot of powerful people very angry. I can live with that. His smile was real for the first time in weeks. As long as I'm not doing it alone. They had 48 hours to save both their futures. The clock was ticking in Victoria Hayes. The girl from Queens who'd built herself from nothing was about to prove that some battles are worth fighting, even the impossible ones. 20-4 hours. Left Victoria stood outside the glass tower that used to feel like home, her leather portfolio gripping the evidence that could save Jonathan or destroy them both. Inside those documents lay her gamble. Proof that the board had known about the embezzlement for months and had chosen silence over action to protect stock prices. She'd spent the night following digital breadcrumbs. cross-referencing dates, building an airtight case. If she was right, the board wasn't just covering up Jonathan's ex-wife's crimes. They were complicit. But using this information meant declaring war on some of the most powerful people in New York architecture. Jonathan had tried to stop her. "This is too dangerous. These people will destroy you." She'd kissed him quiet. "Then they'll have to destroy us both." Now, standing in the morning cold, she dialed the number she'd found at 3 a.m. Robert Chen, lead federal investigator on the embezzlement case. "Mr. Chen? My name is Victoria Hayes. I have information about the Pierce architecture case that you need to see." 3 hours later, she sat in a federal building in Lower Manhattan, watching Chen's expression darken as he reviewed her findings.
Oh.
"Ms. Hayes, do you understand what you're alleging?" "That the entire board knew about this embezzlement and failed to report it." "I'm not alleging. I'm proving." Victoria's hands were steady despite her racing heart. "Every email, every financial report, it's all there." They knew, and they were planning to make Jonathan take the fall to avoid their own liability. Chen leaned back, studying her. "Why are you doing this?" "According to my files, the board already cleared you. You could walk away. Because Jonathan Pierce is innocent, and he was about to sacrifice himself for people who don't deserve it." She met Chen's eyes. "Including me, in your relationship with Mr. Pierce? That's relevant to this case." Victoria's jaw tightened. "My relationship with Jonathan started after I was suspended. It has nothing to do with the embezzlement. But yes, I care about him. That doesn't make this evidence less real." Chen studied the documents again, then nodded slowly. "This changes everything. If what you're saying is true, we need to move fast. The board meets tomorrow to finalize Pierce's settlement." "I know. That's why I'm here." "Yeah. You realize this makes you a witness? You'll be deposed. Questioned. Your name will be back in the news." Chen's expression softened slightly. "The board will come after you. Hard. Let them." Victoria stood. "I didn't build my career by being afraid of powerful men. I'm not starting now." By evening, federal agents were executing search warrants on Pierce Architecture Group's offices. By midnight, 3 board members had been placed under investigation. Victoria sat in Jonathan's apartment, watching the news coverage with her heart in her throat. Her phone exploded with messages. Colleagues, former friends. Job offers rescinded before they'd been made. She'd painted a target on her back, and she'd done it knowingly. Jonathan paced the room, his energy kinetic with stress. "This is exactly what I was trying to prevent. They're going to crucify you." "They can try." Victoria's voice was steadier than she felt. Chen said, "The evidence is solid. The board's going down, Jonathan. You're going to be cleared. At what cost?" He stopped, staring at her. "Your reputation. Your career. Everything you've worked for. I made my choice. I never asked you to. No, you asked me to let you die for me instead." She stood, meeting his anguish head-on. "I chose differently. Deal with it." The argument died on his lips. He pulled her close, his voice breaking. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not." She kissed his jaw. "But you're stuck with me anyway?"
Ah!
Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You just made the worst mistake of your life." Then another. "The board has friends. Powerful friends. Watch your back." Ice slid down Victoria's spine. Jonathan saw her face, grabbed her phone. "We're going to the police." His voice was hard. "Right now, they're just trying to scare me. It's working." He was already pulling on his jacket. "I'm not letting you become collateral damage in this war." They spent the next 2 hours at a police station filing reports. The officers were sympathetic but clear. Vague threats weren't actionable. They could document but not prevent. By the time they returned to Jonathan's apartment, exhaustion had them both stumbling. Victoria collapsed on the couch, reality finally catching up to terror. "What did I do?" Her voice was small. "Jonathan, what if I just made everything worse?" He sat beside her, pulling her against him. "You did the right thing. The brave thing. The stupid thing. Sometimes they're the same." He kissed her hair. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we find out if your gamble paid off. Victoria wanted to sleep, wanted to escape into unconsciousness, where board threats and federal investigations couldn't touch her, but sleep wouldn't come. At 3 a.m., she gave up and wandered to Jonathan's window, watching the city that never slept. Lights blazed in buildings, where people made deals and broke hearts and built empires on lies. She'd spent her whole life trying to earn a place in that world. Now she'd burned the bridges to prove a point about truth. Jonathan's arms wrapped around her from behind. Whatever happens, I'm with you. You say that now? Victoria leaned into him. But when the dust settles and I'm unhireable, when my name is toxic and your reputation is restored, you'll realize you're better off without me.
Act.
He turned her to face him. You're not getting rid of me that easily. We're in this together. Remember? She wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this fragile thing they'd built could survive the storm. She'd unleashed, but trust was a luxury she'd lost the moment. She walked into that federal building. Morning came too fast. Chen called at 8. Ms. Hayes, we have a problem. Victoria's blood went cold. What kind of problem? Your evidence checks out. The board was complicit. But they've filed a countersuit claiming you and Pierce colluded to fabricate evidence. They're alleging you had access to the financial systems through your relationship with him. It's insane. I gave you the evidence to clear Jonathan. I know. But they're spinning it differently. Claiming you're both involved, trying to deflect blame. Chen's voice was grim. This is a scorched earth strategy. They're trying to destroy both of you before we can build a case. Victoria's legs gave out. She sat hard on the floor. So we lose anyway. Not necessarily. But it's going to get ugly. And it's going to take time. Months, maybe years to sort out. Paused. Are you prepared for that? She looked at Jonathan, who'd gone pale listening to her side of the conversation. Saw the man who'd been willing to sacrifice everything to protect her. The man who'd given her one night of not being alone. The man she was going to lose anyway if the board had their way. Yes, she whispered. I'm prepared. But she wasn't. Not for what came next. Chen called back an hour later. There's one more thing. The board found something. Or they claim they did. What? Financial transfers from Pierce's accounts to yours. Small amounts over the past year. They're claiming he was paying you off. That you've been helping cover up the embezzlement all along. That's impossible. I've never received money from Jonathan. Silence. Mr. Chen. Ms. Hayes, the transfers exist. I've seen the records. They're real. The room spun. She looked at Jonathan, who was watching her with growing dread. That's not possible, Victoria repeated. But her voice shook. Jonathan grabbed the phone. Chen, this is Pierce. What transfers? I never sent Victoria money. The records show otherwise. $5,000 monthly for 14 months. Always to an account in her name. That account doesn't exist. Victoria's voice rose. I don't have any account except my checking and savings. You can verify that. We are. But if someone set up an account in your name without your knowledge, that's identity theft. And it means someone has been planning this frame job for over a year. So the implications hit like a freight train. Someone had been building a case against them long before Victoria had sent that accidental video. Long before they'd spent one night together. Who? Victoria demanded. Who would do this? Jonathan's face had gone gray. I know who. He grabbed his laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Pulled up emails. Financial records. His expression transformed from shock to fury. Marcus. The name was a curse. Marcus Reeves. My ex-wife's brother. He's on the board. Why would he frame us? Victoria's mind raced, because if I go down for embezzlement, my assets get seized, including the shares I inherited from my father, shares that give me controlling interest in the company. Jonathan's jaw clenched. Marcus has been trying to take control for years. This is his play. Frame me. Discredit any evidence against the board, and take the company, and I'm just collateral damage. Victoria felt sick. The relationship makes me look complicit. Makes your defense look like a conspiracy. Exactly. Jonathan slammed the laptop shut. He probably followed us that Thursday night. Saw an opportunity and took it. Chen's voice came through the phone, still on speaker. This is now a much bigger case. If Marcus Reeves has been orchestrating this, we need more evidence. Can you get me something concrete linking him to the fake accounts? Jonathan and Victoria looked at each other. In that moment, a terrible understanding passed between them. I can get you evidence, Jonathan said slowly. But it means using Victoria as bait? Absolutely not. Victoria stood. Don't even think about it. If Marcus thinks he's winning, he'll get cocky. Make mistakes. Jonathan's voice was cold, calculating. But he needs to believe we're broken. That Victoria's turned on me to save herself. Jonathan? No. He grabbed her hands. Listen to me. This is the only way. If you publicly denounce me, claim I manipulated you, Marcus will think his plan worked. He'll move to finalize the takeover. And when he does, he'll have to access those fake accounts. That's when Chen catches him. You're asking me to betray you? Publicly? I'm asking you to trust me one more time. His eyes burned into hers. I know I don't deserve it. But this is our only play. Victoria stared at the man she'd risked everything for. The man who was now asking her to destroy him to save them both? How do I know this isn't another lie? Another plan to protect me by sacrificing yourself? You don't. Jonathan's voice cracked. You have to choose to trust me. Just like I chose to trust you with the truth. Chen's voice cut through. Ms. Hayes, if you do this, your name gets cleared. Pierce's name gets cleared. The board goes down. But everyone will think you betrayed him. Even after the truth comes out, some people will never believe you. So I trade my relationship for my career. Victoria's laugh was hollow. For both our careers, Jonathan corrected. And then when it's over, we start again. Clean slate, if we survive it. If we survive it. Victoria closed her eyes. Saw her father's face. Remembered his voice. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is look weak while you prepare your real strike. She opened her eyes. Made her choice. Tell me what to do. The plan was elegant in its cruelty. Victoria would hold a press conference the next morning. She would claim Jonathan had manipulated her, used their relationship to ensure her silence about the embezzlement. She would present herself as a victim, and Jonathan would have to stand there and take it. That night, they held each other in the darkness. No words left. Just the knowledge that tomorrow they would become enemies in the eyes of the world. I love you, Jonathan whispered against her hair. I need you to know that. Before we do this, Victoria's tears soaked his shirt. I love you too, and I hate you for making me do this, I know. He kissed her like it was the last time. Maybe it was. I'm sorry. Morning came cold and cruel. Victoria dressed in her armor. Gray suit, severe hair, the mask of a woman wronged. She stood at the podium, cameras flashing, and destroyed the man she loved. Jonathan Pierce used our relationship to manipulate me. To ensure my silence, I was a fool to trust him. In the back of the room, Jonathan stood with his lawyers, his face carved from stone. There. Eyes met across the crowd, and Victoria saw the moment his heart broke. Just like hers already. Had the game was in play. Now they just had to survive. It bought 40-8 hours after Victoria destroyed. Jonathan, in front of the world. Marcus Reeves made his move. Chen called at midnight. We got him. He accessed the fake accounts to transfer them to an offshore holding. We have everything. Bank records. IP addresses. Communication with his sister. It's over. Victoria sat in her empty apartment, the words washing over her like distant thunder. When do you arrest him? Dawn, we're coordinating with the SEH. Chen's voice softened. You did it, Miss Hayes. You both did. At what cost? The board is finished. Jonathan's cleared. You're cleared. By Monday, the truth will be public. Victoria ended the call and stared at her phone. Jonathan's number sat there, untouched for 2 days. She'd blocked his calls after the press conference. Played her part perfectly. The betrayed protege. The woman who'd been manipulated, the media had eaten it up. Her inbox overflowed with job offers from firms eager to hire the architect who'd taken down a corrupt CEO. Her reputation was spotless again, and she'd never felt more hollow. At 6 a.m., she watched the news coverage. Marcus Reeves let out in handcuffs. Board members resigning. The whole rotten structure collapsing. By noon, Chen held his own press conference. The truth spilled out in clinical detail. The fake accounts. The frame job. Victoria and Jonathan's cooperation with federal investigators. The media narrative flipped instantly. Victoria Hayes and Jonathan Pierce. Heroes who'd brought down corruption from the inside. A love story for the ages, except there was no love story anymore. Victoria's phone exploded with messages. Apologies from colleagues who'd believed the lies. Interview requests, but nothing from the one person who mattered. 3 days of silence. Then a knock on her door. Jonathan stood in her hallway looking like he'd aged years in less than a week. Stubble shadowed his jaw. Dark circles haunted his eyes. But when he looked at her, something fierce and unbroken blazed there. "Can I come in?" Victoria stepped aside wordlessly. They stood in her living room, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. Finally, Jonathan spoke. "I watched you destroy me on television. Watched you call me a manipulator, liar, everything I'd been terrified of becoming." His voice was raw. "And all I could think was how brave you were, how strong, how much I didn't deserve you." "Jonathan, no. Let me finish." Step closer. "You were right to hate me for asking you to do that. Right to block my calls. I put you through hell because I thought I knew better. Thought I could protect you by controlling the situation. I did to you exactly what I accused my ex-wife of doing to me." Victoria's throat closed. "You were trying to save us. I was trying to save myself from losing you. There's a difference." He reached out, then dropped his hand. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to know that what I said before the press conference, it was real. I love you, and I'm sorry." "Stop." Victoria's voice cracked. "Stop apologizing for the only honest thing you've ever done. You asked me to trust you, to make an impossible choice." She closed the distance between them. "I spent 3 days hating you for it. 3 days wondering if you'd manipulated me into sacrificing everything. If this was just another lie," Victoria, but then I realized something. Her hands found his face. "You gave me the choice. You didn't make the decision for me. You trusted me to be strong enough to handle the truth and smart enough to make my own call. That's not manipulation. That's partnership." Jonathan's eyes closed. "I thought I'd lost you. You almost did." She pulled him down until their foreheads touched. "But I'm tired of losing things because I'm afraid. I'm tired of safe choices that leave me alone." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I love you too. Even though you're complicated and damaged and you have terrible ideas about how to protect people." Victoria's laugh was watery. "I'm saying I want to try. The real thing. Not built on secrets or lies or accidental videos. Just us. Messy and real and probably destined to drive each other crazy." Jonathan kissed her then, desperate and reverent, pouring everything he couldn't say into the connection. When they broke apart, he pressed his palm against her cheek. "Don't have a job. My reputation is still destroyed in half the architecture world. I'm probably going to spend the next year in depositions and legal meetings. I got fired again yesterday." Victoria smiled. "Apparently sleeping with a star witness in a federal case is a conflict of interest. Who knew? We're a disaster, the best kind." She kissed him again. "So what do we do now?" Jonathan's smile was real for the first time since the nightmare began. "I have an idea. Probably a terrible one. Those are your specialty. Start our own firm. You and me. No boards. No corporate politics. Just design and partnership and building something real." Victoria stared at him. "That's actually insane. We'd be starting from nothing. No clients. No reputation. Just to architects everyone thinks are either criminals or crazy. I know. We'd probably fail. Probably. We'd have to work 100 hours a week. Fight for every client. Prove ourselves all over again. Yes. Victoria's grin was fierce and wild. When do we start? They spent that night at her dining table, sketching possibilities, building something new from the ashes of everything they'd lost. Their firm would be small, selective. They'd focus on sustainable design, affordable housing, projects that mattered. It would be brutally hard. They'd have to rebuild trust in themselves and each other. Learn to communicate without lies or protection. Face their demons together instead of trying to shield each other from pain. But as dawn painted Victoria's windows gold, she looked at Jonathan hunched over blueprints with his reading glasses sliding down his nose, and felt something shift into place. This was real. Messy and complicated and terrifyingly uncertain. But real, hey? She said softly. He looked up, pushing his glasses back. Yeah, thank you. For what? For seeing me, the real me, not the perfect architect or the girl from Queens trying to prove herself, just me. Victoria's voice steadied. For being brave enough to want that, even when it was dangerous. Jonathan stood, crossing to her. He pulled her up and into his arms, holding her like she was precious and breakable and fierce all at once. You're the bravest person I've ever met, he murmured against her hair. You walked into a federal building and declared war on some of the most powerful people in New York. You stood in front of cameras and destroyed A to save us. You chose truth over safety. That's not bravery. That's revolution. We're both pretty stupid, aren't we? Catastrophically, he kissed her temple. But we're stupid together. That has to count for something. 6 months later, Hayes and Pierce Architecture opened in a small office in Brooklyn. Their first client was a nonprofit, building affordable housing in the Bronx. Their second was a community center in Victoria's old neighborhood in Queens. The work was hard. The hours brutal. Money was tight. But they were building something that mattered, together. Some nights, when the city slept and they worked side by side in their office,
How Victoria would look at Jonathan.
and remember that accidental video? That one careless mistake that had cascaded into chaos and destruction and rebirth. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I'd sent that video to Daniel instead? She asked one night. Jonathan looked up from his sketches. Every day. And I'm grateful you didn't. He reached across the desk, lacing his fingers with hers. Because this, us, it's the best mistake I've ever made. We're not a mistake. No. Smile was soft and sure. We're proof that sometimes the wrong choice leads to exactly where you're meant to be. Victoria squeezed his hand, feeling the calluses and scars, the evidence of work and struggle and survival. They'd walked through fire and come out changed but whole. Some love stories start with a meet-cute, some with grand gestures and perfect timing. Theirs started with an accidental video and a CEO's impossible confession. It survived lies and betrayal and public destruction. It was built on trust earned through pain and partnership forged in chaos. It wasn't perfect. They still fought, still struggled, still carried scars from the battles they'd endured. But it was real, and real Victoria had learned. It was worth more than perfect ever could be. The morning sun broke through their office windows, painting their workspace in gold. Another day. Another challenge. Another chance to build something that mattered together. Together, the end.